Okay, History 3553. We're continuing on with the Battle of Gettysburg. This map is a really busy map. Just want to point out some key things. Um, so Lee and the Union Army start off down here south of Washington, D.C. Basically, Lee's going to make his way. And just understand, he's spread out his armies. The three red circles, he's basically split his army into thirds. So that they can feed themselves off the cattle and the grains of Pennsylvania there. But Lee learns that the Union troops under Meade are around Frederick, Maryland. They're in that blue circle, and basically Lee needs to move his troops together, concentrate his forces because uh, the Union could knock out each third of his army pretty easily by themselves. So he decides, let's all gather around this town called Gettysburg, mainly because the roads lead there. And so Lee's army is going to try to concentrate around Gettysburg. The other key thing to highlight here is that Lee is missing his cavalry, led by General Jeb Stuart. And the cavalry is really the eyes and ears of Lee's army. So he doesn't know exactly where the Union troops are. And so he has rumors that they're around Frederick, Maryland. And so he decides to concentrate his forces around Gettysburg because he doesn't know what's going on. He has strategic disorder. Day one, full days of fighting. Just real quickly, is the Union forces, the cavalry forces move into Gettysburg. They run into Lee's men. Again, it's very accidental. The Union doesn't know exactly where Lee is. Lee doesn't know exactly where the Union is. So their advanced forces run into each other around Gettysburg. The other big point is that the Confederates win this first day of the battle. They basically force the Union from their positions north and west of Gettysburg to the high ground. The Union retreats back to the high ground around Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill, Little Round Top, Big Round Top. They retreat back there. In the very beginning of this fighting, a Union general by the name of John Reynolds is killed by a sniper. I just want to highlight that during this one battle, 9 generals will be killed. The fighting, again, is very close. You know, we talked about those rifles, and they're much improved. But they're still going to be within eyesight range. The old rifles were good for about a football field, maybe a little less. The rifles during the Civil War are good for about 3 to 5 football fields. So much longer range, but still close enough to see your opponent. And just also put that 9 generals in perspective. Only 1 general was killed during both the entire time of the current or the just previous Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So 9 generals in one battle is pretty significant. All you need to know for day one, though, really write this down. The Confederates win, but the Union retreats to the high ground, and the battle was accidental. Day two. You can kind of see there in the middle that blue line that looks like a fishhook. So basically, Union troops have retreated to the high ground in the form of a fishhook. Lee decides, I'm going to try to get around them. I'm going to attack the flanks. So he's going to attack one side of there in Culp's Hill, and he's going to send troops on the other side, Little Round Top, Big Round Top, Devil's Den, that kind of area down on the south there. So he doesn't want to attack the middle of that fishhook. He wants to attack the ends and hopefully get around the Union. Real briefly, Culp's Hill, highlighted there. The Confederates try 4 times to go up Culp's Hill. They're unsuccessful. The Union holds the high ground. And again, because there's a lack of coordination with Lee's generals and troops, they're fighting in a northern area they don't know very well. They don't have their cavalry eyes and ears. Culp's Hill, they're defeated. You can put down your pens and pencils just one of the many fascinating stories of Gettysburg. So there's a soldier in the Confederate Army named Wesley Culp, who was born on his family's farm on Culp's Hill here in Gettysburg. And he's going to die within a few hundred feet of his family farm during the battle. So just I want to emphasize that the Civil War really was a battle that really came close to home for pretty much every American, and the story of Wesley Culp just kind of highlights that. Okay, pick up the pens and paper. So while Culp's Hill is going on one side, what's happening on the other side is the Union forces decide to leave the high ground, and Sickles decides to move his troops out to land that's not quite on the high ground, and it's a mistake. The Confederates attack. There's some massive battles in just little areas called the Peach Orchard, the Wheat Field, the Devil's Den. Don't need to write those down, but please understand these little tiny areas, thousands of troops on both sides will be killed fighting for these little patches of ground. And the reason they're fighting over them is because whoever can kind of win them can hopefully then win the high ground and then win the battle. The key really to day two is the Union holds on, but it's by the slimmest of margins. A Union general in charge of the engineers is scouting, can see that the Union forces are losing the battles in the Peach Orchard and the Wheat Field and the Devil's Den. He meets up with a brigade under General Sykes, and they rush reinforcements to Little Round Top and cannons up Little Round Top. It's the middle of July. It's one of the hottest days of the year, 100-degree temperatures. It's a noisy, messy battlefield. And literally by the slimmest of margins, the Union troops get their troops there just before the Confederates can get to the top of the hill, and they push them back. And we're talking minutes. We're talking minutes here. Had the Confederates gotten there literally there about 10 minutes earlier, Gettysburg might have been totally different. So the real key to this battle really is Sykes and Warren and the movement around Little Round Top late in the day, and really just a few hundred Union troops defeating a few hundred Confederate troops all the way down far away from the main lines is what turns this battle most likely. So just understand, at the end of the day, the Union holds day two. Day two is basically a draw, which is a win for the Union. The Confederates lose their attempt at both flanks. So day three, Lee has a new plan. He's basically going to try Culp's Hill once again. He's going to try to use his artillery to bombard the middle of the Union line there. He's going to try to send his cavalry around the back there. That's what this yellow circle behind Sykes is. And so basically, while the Union's busy at Culp's Hill and while they're busy down here on the south end, the artillery is going to bombard the middle, and then Lee's going to send his main infantry force right through the middle of Meade's lines, right through the center of the Union Army, and try to break it in two. But Meade's no dummy. There's a famous quote, and he knows what Lee's going to do. He's failed on my flanks. He has to attack my center. So Meade's going to reinforce his center there. So basically, the Culp's Hill assault fails. The cavalry attack fails. The artillery barrage is too high and does not inflict the losses that are expected. And so it's kind of left to Pickett's charge. I'm going to pause it here, and we're going to pick it up just after.